So far, the rogue waves we've looked at caused no serious injury and weren't deadly, and this one isn't either. But it very nearly was, and if things had played out just a little bit differently, it would have easily resulted in the largest loss of life in maritime history. It was the Queen Mary, owned by the same company as the Lusitania and QE2, the Cunard Line, which was one of the world's most beloved and largest passenger ships, coming in at around 81,000 gross registered tons and exceeding 1,000 feet, or 304 metres in length. In normal peacetime service, the Queen could carry about 2,100 passengers and 1,000 crew, but in the depths of the Second World War, it was realised that thousands more troops could be squeezed into the ship. Queen Mary, then the fastest ship in the world, was put into service as a troop transport, and the British government pushed it to its limits. At first, the Queen carried about 6,000 troops, but then, as the war dragged on and more men were needed, it was scaled up in a big way. By 1942, the ship, along with its sister the Queen Elizabeth, was capable of carrying some 16,000 soldiers to Europe, an incredible number that, for a single vessel, has never been topped before or since. Cramming 16,000 men, the equivalent of an entire division, into a single ship was a bold move by the British and was not an easily made decision. But incredibly, faith was put into the Queen Mary's speed to dodge and outrun enemy submarines and airplanes. Adolf Hitler even put a bounty on the Queen Mary, the equivalent of $250,000, and the coveted Iron Cross medal for whichever submarine captain could sink the ship. Bizarrely though, it was nature that nearly achieved this directive and not Hitler's submarine fleets. In early December 1942, the Queen Mary was loaded with over 16,000 American GIs and set out from New York to Scotland, braving over 3,000 miles of U-boat-infested and stormy Atlantic Ocean. By the fourth day at sea, the conditions had worsened and the Queen was now facing massive seas and high winds. On top of carrying the 16,000 plus men, the ship had been loaded with equipment and supplies which, coupled with its low metacentric height, a topic I covered in my ship design fails video, caused the ship to roll slowly over to one side and never seem like it would return to level. The troops inside the ship had to suffer, and many had never been in such ocean conditions before. Seasickness was rife, and the inside of the ship became a nightmarish hell, awash with vomit, and with many men presenting to the infirmary with serious dehydration. Regardless, the Queen Mary ploughed on, cresting monstrous waves and smashing down stories at a time, only to be met by the next one. Just 700 miles from her destination, the ship crested a wave and dropped like she'd done 1,000 times before, but then, seemingly out of nowhere off the ship's port bow, there appeared an enormous rogue wave, at least twice the height of the biggest wave she'd yet encountered. The bridge tried to turn the ship's nose towards it, but it was too late, and the Queen Mary was caught plumb on its broadside. Windows across the ship and on the bridge shattered as water roared over it, and lifeboats on the side facing the wave were just ripped off their davits. The ship began to heel way over, 10 degrees, then 15, then 20, then 30, and then 40. By now, everybody inside, if standing, would have had to have held on, or at the very least have 1 foot on a bulkhead or wall. Then the list kept going, 45 degrees, and then an incredible, horrifying 50 degrees of list. Inside the ship, anything not bolted down raced across the interior and slammed against the starboard side. Men not holding on in their bunks were thrown down, suffering concussions and broken bones. Portholes smashed in, and seawater roared into cabins and staterooms. The starboard side of the ship slung low in the water so the lifeboats almost kissed the ocean surface. Then the ship stayed there, heeled hard over 50 degrees or so. For what seemed like an eternity, it stayed like that. It could only have been seconds, but for the 16,000 troops and 1,000 crew on board, it must have felt like forever. Nobody knew if the ship would roll to its doom. Incredibly, the ship began to slowly right itself, coming back level and putting everybody inside back onto their feet. It's been estimated that if the ship had rolled just a few more degrees, then it would have exceeded its centre of gravity and completely rolled over, capsizing in a raging sea that would have certainly resulted in the death of every single person on board, instantly becoming the worst single maritime disaster in modern human history.